Yeah, it's called Game Paradise Lost.
Game Lost?
You got it, Kurt?
You already feel justified already?
Yeah. Yeah, I got it.
I'll do it. You got it?
You want to do it?
I'll do it. Yeah, sure. We here. What's up? Yeah, welcome to your favorite reaction channel. My name is Jarek.
I'm Nick.
I'm Curtis.
I'm Zach.
I'm Pete. I'm Julio.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
Man, we here, man. First of all, shout out to Jazz.
Shout out to
Jazz.
Jazz.
This is the second request we're doing from Jazz. You are on our list. Remember,
I was about to ask that. I left y'all alone.
That made it.
there are a few.
Whoever do the hottest shit.
So listen, right?
Oh, really?
This is how it goes down. You know, when you're on our Patreon, y'all can request stuff, and we do it for y'all because the real redeemers are on the Patreon. So join the Patreon. But when they request something to us,
snuck up, Damien? Who snuck above? Because you weren't here that
I remember who it was. It was
Jules or
no,
no, it was two. It was two.
It was
people.
two. They sisters or cousins or something. Yeah. Them. So we have a collection of redeemers who requested stuff, and we said that at the end of the year we're gonna choose the most valuable redeemer, like the MVP, like who.
I don't like those wording.
Blurp it out. Blurp it out.
I
Blurp
wasn't
it
here
out.
for this. This is news.
We gonna choose
We gonna choose the redeemer that snapped the most.
Yeah, gave us the best request, and we're gonna. I forgot what the prize was. I think we're gonna give y'all
They get first dibs.
they get first dibs
as far
first
as
dibs. Next year, y'all get first dibs.
Listen, man, we can spice that shit up. Whoever had the hottest
And we
joint get
said
5
get
free
merch.
reactions.
And we said might get merch.
5 free joints.
Oh, we gonna send y'all some merch too.
Yeah, or merch, whatever they want to get into and shit. Tell us your favorite group. We'll send you some merch. Or
Jazz, you up there now? You gave us one hot video. Jazz gave us one hot video. Hopefully, this is another one. This is Gain
One of y'all gotta have a
Paradise
tally,
Lost.
Y'all better start keeping a tally up because it'd be some people with fire shit. And it was some people that had fire shit before we kind of started it, which was low, you know.
Sorry, that was last year.
You said last shit?
That was last year.
Everyone like.
But yeah, let's just jump into this.
Apple. Ooh, a little violin here. That bass kick.
First it was Stranger Things vibes at first, then it was
Synth bass, maybe?
2 women.
Oh, they said Apple women guilty. Is that
Adam and Eve?
Adam? Yeah, is that Adam?
Right,
Is
look,
that two
okay.
women, right? Paradise Lost.
Yazzie and Ginger.
Is that like an organ?
I love the organs. Woo, bro. It's Phantom of the Opera. That's fire.
That's fire.
It's a Mozart drop.
What's that new drop? Oh, no. It's
Adam and Eve, the snake.
She got our backdrop to the new studio.
That framing is perfect, too.
Oh, it's fire.
Interesting. Hashtag pressure.
Fresh.
돌아가고 싶은 곳은 없어. 내 목소리가 아는 모든 말을 거짓말.
So many innuendos.
너를 들려는 모든 것들. Anyone looking for the paradise lost. 달콤한 물처럼 좋은 건 말이야. Maybe I'm better true diamond lost. 미치게 탐나는
Looking for that sweet honey, girl?
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum. It was like, I'm here.
I'll have to register to that.
Interesting.
Cinematography of all this is crazy.
It was like,
Oh my God. That was a moment.
look at the cinematography.
It's so crazy.
See the parallels? It's ironic.
Banger.
Sweet and bitter. That church organ go crazy.
It's
Oh my goodness.
That's such a perfect instrument.
I ain't gonna lie.
Was a
That
banger.
shit was fire.
That was a banger.
The song was hot.
Everything about it.
I just want to say though,
Double entendre is crazy.
Incredible.
Game.
Lost.
if you're watching this, I hope you are. You're beautiful. You are talented.
You're real.
You are real. You know, everything about this was on point. Like the vibe, the music, the choreo, the attire, everything just worked together very well. The hook, you and I are paradise. Like that shit will be a hot drill sample. I can hear that being like a hot drill sample and getting switched. That shit fire. She did an amazing job. There was a lot of stuff that she was doing on the floor that seemed very simple, but requires a lot of core strength.
I was gonna say the core strength.
You know, the background dancers, they were doing what background dancers are supposed to do. They were elevating her, the focal point, to a whole other level. The women, the men in this, they had moments, you know. She was doing that thing, girl. I see what you're doing.
Were there no backup dancers necessary in this one?
Yes, they had moments. Actually, when we get to that part, I'm sure one of us will notice how big of an impact they had in that one scene when they're all like behind her just crawling and they're
like
just
crawling.
contorting their body.
Like
you know what I
snakes.
mean? It's just it's dope. You know what I mean? The use of symmetry. The use of symmetry
yes.
throughout like the choreo and the video. I'm pretty sure the choreographer and the DP and cinematographers worked very, very hard to get that beautiful shot.
The mirror floor.
The mirror floor. Cinematography of that and just the symmetry of it all is just very pleasing to your eye. You know what I mean? When you're lit, when you're
Almost every frame
intoxicated,
looks like a painting.
the shapes are just stand out and they're very pleasing to the eye.
I thought it kind of looked like honey because she kept talking about it.
That's definitely what the look was.
Fire.
Everything was great. From the song itself, which if the song felt like it could be like a soundtrack for a movie, like a double agent movie. That's what the kind of feels I got from the first scene when she was in black. I don't know if you guys remember True Lies, the movie, when she was dancing for her husband. That's exactly
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee
There you
Curtis.
go. That's what the vibes
I prefer
got
Tia
from her
Carrere, but
from the beginning.
Very
And,
provocative.
man, very provocative, and she just kept it there the whole way and kept me. I didn't look away not once. Very, 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 very visual. I loved it.
I couldn't even pay attention to the lyrics because the visuals just had me locked in.
yeah, the production is ironic too.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the production is ironic because we keep talking about like the church organs, and then obviously you got the whole like Adam and Eve type like thing going on, the temptation. So you know the church, Adam and Eve, you know the Bible, everything. It's just all kind of like fits and stuff like that. This was amazing though. I just felt like nothing was never boring, no frame at all. I can see how you can get lost in either or the song or kind of the choreo of what's going on. Something about the sensual / sexual energy that she has where it's like given contemporary somewhat, but it's also given like not like a burlesque house or something, but it's like an elevated form of stripping.
It's almost like she's snake charming. It's a
Yeah,
snake charmer
yeah.
in
Thank
a
you,
sense.
thank you, and shit. Yeah,
She
something
has that,
where it's
you know,
like it's
that
seductive,
stocking,
but
yeah.
but classy and like kind of like you just drawn it.
That's
You're
like
locked
what
in.
Eric said. Those guys behind her, it's like she's charming those guys, and they can't help but be drawn to her and her movement. And,
Temptation again,
so
just like
everybody
kind
locked in.
of just like Eve with the apple, which fucked
that was
everything up.
fire right there.
But yeah, I like it. I like the light placement. There also, to me, is kind of like a good versus evil type vibe. When literally when the video comes on, you'll see like the red and green like type of different subtext. Green could be considered like good. Red could be evil.
Interesting enough, too, the snake was green.
Yep.
So the whole, it kind of flips that on its head a little bit, too.
Which is kind of the Bible. Like he'll present himself as kind of being something very good and like it's fine. Like let's just do this. And then when you get into that temptation,
in fact,
it's a wrap for you.
It's
a wrap.
If you would perceive red as bad, but red, in the credits there is apple. So
Yeah.
it's like the apple being red, but it's not the forbidden fruit necessarily, or depending on how you perceive that. Because usually the green is kind of seen as like more of the, the poisonous sort of fruit or something like that. But that's really interesting, kind of how they're able to even flip just the color scheme of that on its head.
And then even the duality later on, because like first everything is kind of mirrored, and then it just kind of jumps into like just black and white later on. But come on, mouse.
Mouse is like,
Right. It's like it's not the apple. Because she's talking about the golden honey and everything all like that and shit, but I feel like the color polish just maybe were changed up to be a little bit different than kind of like the greens and red and shit. Now nothing is ever going to pop up. But how they keep doing color bounce changes right here and shit like that, and now nothing's going to pop up and shit. Anyway, it's just, it was decent. And at first, because at first I thought it might have been practical as far as like them just kind of having like a reflective floor and maybe was playing with something. But once I seen they kind of changed up stuff as far as like the two different outfits, I'm assuming that they kind of not kaleidoscoped it, but they might have just kind of either split the images and kind of put them on top of each other, or it was green screened on the floor and they just kind of superimposed it on the floor to kind of bounce and give like that type of look and everything. Could be wrong as shit, but from a filmmaker's perspective, I'm just assuming that's kind of how they went about it.
Oh, it is this.
No, that's really interesting.
I just noticed that. That's
Yeah, but the shit is fire and shit. And like I said, I love not only with the men and the women how like all the backup dancers here were used to elevate everything that was for her. They are there, but it's not like superly like present. It's just enough for you
Part of the
to
storytelling.
appreciate
she's the
her
star
and as a
the
part
whole
of the
way.
storytelling.
And they didn't take that away from her being the star of the whole video.
Yeah. Also, she is talented, man. I kind of like the I want to say like the growl in her voice, but it just was a little something else. It wasn't kind of just that straight voice. I don't know. It felt a little more like you know how kind of like not to compare her or say they even sound the same, but it's almost like when Rihanna sings and shit, where it's kind of like a little bit more like this isn't a stereotypical voice, I guess, like that and shit. Just something that's a little bit more unique and shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say feels just unique.
Yeah, but I like this. That's my spill, man. She's fine as fuck too, man. Yeah, just to kind of put that out there, man. Like she's seriously like
had me
looks good.
hypnotized the
This is
whole
one of
time.
the most hypnotizing choreos I've seen.
Definitely hypnotizing.
She's a grown ass woman.
High praise.
Kurt, did you want to jump in?
Oh yeah. Basically, what I was gonna say too, to kind of add on everything that you were saying. For one, I really love that balance in the production, for sure, as you had said. The church organ and the way it balances out with those motifs of kind of good and evil, and kind of some of the undertones of like the darker, deeper bass to kind of juxtapose the highs and lows of everything. But also, funny enough, especially in kind of old school horror, I'm talking like like 20s and 30s probably, like during like Universal monsters and everything. Church organ was used in horror a lot as well to kind of balance out a little bit of that. So I like that they kind of use some of how incredible and I just want to say how powerful, I guess, that the church organ can sound with everything, as like a punch or like an exclamation point to some of the horrific things that you're seeing. So I think that's an interesting kind of balance that you're able to strike with that particular instrument. So when you put that into the scope of kind of good versus evil, seemingly temptation, Adam and Eve sort of thing, I just think it was really interesting because it plays perfectly into that temptation, where it's like, is this instrument portraying something that's supposed to make me feel good and welcomed, or kind of on that scale, or is it something that's foreboding and kind of warning me? And I just think that in and of itself is like really impressive on a production level. Certainly everything with the visuals can't be understated. I mean, it clearly, like the way they're able to get the job done as far as like portraying kind of the alluringness and the seductiveness of kind of what's meant to, be represented within that concept of, good versus evil, Adam and Eve, forbidden fruit sort of thing. So they did all that extremely well. And I love, as you were saying, the symmetry and just how everything looks like such like a painting, and even to the effect of the kaleidoscope, almost like it's supposed to be slightly, I don't want to necessarily say psychedelic, but hypnotic for sure. So the presentation of kind of the way they use, all those techniques that you'll see in like drawings and paintings are all presented, incredibly well too. I think, also the innuendos that are in here, you can't be like ignored or anything like that. You kind of have the edits of like, the water seemingly dripping, and then, the cut of like the close up to like her mouth licking her lips and everything like that. And all of that is used like incredibly, but it's also, I like that they kind of use the motif of the water, like it's almost like a refreshingness to it or something, or a cleanse perhaps. So I think stuff like that is, really impressive as well. And then when you kind of pair it with the lyrics as far as like saying it's like a honey or like something like that.
Something
Sweet like honey.
No. But it's like, but I'm saying, so kind of
bouncing
balancing the visual metaphor with the innuendo of kind of like what it could represent and everything is just, it's honestly really creative though too. And one thing too, I definitely want to say is, another thing.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Another thing that I really love too is for sure, they have this aspect where it's the wedding dress, which I really liked. And it's, the white wedding dress with the veil over the eyes and everything, and she's like crawling up the church steps seemingly. And the thing that I like about that is kind of, you often hear, and I don't know if this is part of the subject matter of the song itself or anything like that, but part of the thing of marriage, of like being a virgin until marriage or not giving yourself up or anything like that until then. And then kind of when you're balancing seemingly that purity with, the seductiveness and the alluringness. But that's kind of goes into the oxymoron of the title as far as Paradise Lost. If it's paradise, it's like, something that's, heavenly and reached, but then it's also lost. So if you akin that to like, losing virginity versus the paradise of sex or anything like that. I mean, there's like a lot of ways that it could be interpreted, but it's at least that's something that seems like if it were conveyed in the video, it would at least be fitting. But everything that she showcased with her talent, just purely on her, was incredible in and of itself. Like, of course, very sexy, seductive, all those things. But I really like, as Jarek had pointed out too, the core strength it takes to kind of do those moves. As Nick had pointed out, kind of the contemporary style, the fluidity, and kind of portraying some of those moves. So she definitely snapped in that regard, but then everything she was doing on just the pure song level and the vocal registers and everything that she was hitting, I thought all that was really creative too. And especially when you tie it in with the production and kind of how layered the production is as far as like all the instruments it has to kind of balance to kind of shift those tones between the good and evil, to kind of navigate through that on a verse structure level too is really interesting as far as how you're going to attack it with your flow or your cadence or anything like that. And I honestly really thought that she hit on all cylinders for everything. And, the directing was masterful too. So it's like, there's really no flaws in this at all. It was really like a perfect song.
We bodied it.
Yeah, Paradise Lost is also like a good double entendre for the title as well, just because since it's a lot of hints of like the Adam and Eve, you have like the Garden of Eden, and after, sequentially, like they ate the apple and everything. Yeah, you know what I mean, was a paradise. And after you eat the apple and everything, and you're no longer oblivious to the world, you lose that paradise that you had in the Garden of Eden. So it's a lot of that shit going on.
The notion that you could have everything in that garden, but not this.
Yeah,
and it's that mental thing where it's like,
is the grass on the other side greener?
No, it's like you could have everything, but I tell you not to have that. It's
The temptation still.
Which, I mean, even if you call that back to Adam and Eve, I just think that even the concept of that was well portrayed in the video too. And then lastly, the background dancers that were portrayed as the men and kind of like having their eyes covered, you never see their faces and everything. You know how they say temptation like kind of blinds your vision and everything like that. So I thought that was a nice touch as well. Too.
And sometimes too, to being blind is almost just like ignorance is bliss. Not knowing, not seeing, hear no evil, see no evil, and everything else and shit. Exactly. So it was a lot here, and I'm gonna always go back to. That's why K-pop is so decent, because there's so much that goes into it that might seem like little things, but all together is one whole big thing.
Definitely.
But I'm cool. Anything else I'm gonna do?
It was fire.
You can learn more about gaming too.
And how you feel about the jazz joints then tonight?
Jazz to me killed it so far, man. Shout out to you, Jazz. This is a favorite of mine.
Yeah, jump in the comments. Tell us how y'all felt about this. Definitely want to see more from Gain. You just gained a new fan. We love you. We're gonna holler at y'all.
Love y'all.
Peace.